Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So my name's Katie and today we are doing the most disappointing books of 2020. So I'm quite a positive person and I think I'm a fairly generous type rater, but also I feel like sometimes I can be quite harsh. I was looking through my Goodreads for this video, research or whatever, and some of the books I feel like I'm pretty harsh on, but also yeah, sometimes we all have books that we just don't like or don't work for us. It doesn't mean they're necessarily bad books. I think there's only one book on this list which I really hate and would not recommend to anyone. And I think if you've watched any of my videos this year, you probably know what that one is. But also, yeah, the other books I don't think are bad books at all. In fact, some of them I think are actually quite good books, especially in terms of kind of literary merit. But they just weren't for me, so they were disappointing. So I think that's this is the most disappointing books, not the worst books, because I don't think I read any terrible books other than Stormfront. So yeah, started. So we're gonna start off with a bang with the best two. So these two are the worst books I read in 2020, in my opinion. So yeah, so the first one, it has to be Stormfront, and I've spoken about this many times and all my disappointing books, worst books type things. So yeah, so obviously I'm not a huge fan of Stormfront. It's yeah, it's just the most misogynistic and sexist book, and just the kind of Harry Dresden, the main character, he's so slimy, and sleazy, and yeah, and chauvinistic, I think is the word. And I think he even calls himself that at one point. He's relatively self-aware, but he just does it, and it's so horrible, and there's so many lines, and there's this one scene where he's with this other female character at this restaurant, and it's not even a date, it's a professional interview type thing, and he's staring down her top, and he says he's doing it, and yeah, so it's just annoying, and the plot isn't even that good. Occasionally I can forgive a little bit of sexism if the plot's good, but for this one, just no. I don't know if the series improves or not, but I'm not gonna try, because yeah, just all the female characters, they don't have any agency. The main character, the kind of Harry's counterpart, he's a female detective. She's she's kind of promising at first, but then she spends the entire climax of the book just being rescued by Harry, which is so annoying. And then there's also this doorknob thing, sentient doorknob, who's also obsessed with sex, which is really weird. And yeah, and just the way the female characters are described, it's just so icky, and yeah, so I wouldn't recommend that series at all, ever. Okay, and then the next one, which is also kind of in a similar vein, but I do think more people do like this one, I feel, and that is The Black Prism by Brent Weeks. So the story was okay, I feel and also I quite like Gavin Guile. He was the saving grace of that book for me. But just Kip. Ooh. So Harry Dresden, Kip, and Kvaith are my three hit list characters. So Kip is the main character, and he's just another one who's all he thinks about is boobs. There's this scene where he's literally getting assassinated, and all he can think about is the assassin's boobs. And then the assassin at one point, I don't know if she falls on top of him, or they and he lands face first in her breasts, and just why was that scene necessary to write? just why? And yeah. Oh. And so that just annoyed me so much. And also I feel the female characters aren't really well handled. Within the first kind of 50 pages, I don't know quite exactly because I read the audiobook, but within the first chunk of the book, about three female characters kind of introduced, and then a page later, bam, they're dead. So that's kind of at first all the kind of female characters you're getting. So firstly you got these characters being fridged, and then the other characters, I guess Liv kind of had promise, and then the other one, she's very sexualized, which is kind of annoying, because they do have promise, and but it's just, you can tell they're written in such a male gazy way, which is kind of annoying. And then yeah, and then also there's some horrific fat phobia in the book. Like, there's one of the worst descriptions I've ever read of a character. And they're not a main character or anything, it's just like one of the side characters, but the way it was written was just disgusting. And the fact that it was a woman as well, that just, yeah, so that wasn't good. I guess the magic system kind of interesting, but you know, not even Gavin Gall could save the book for me. Yeah. So then the next book is, now we're getting more into the realm of just books that I found disappointing or didn't really like, rather than books that are actually bad. So the first one is The Trace of Barry Cormoran, by Seth Dickinson, I think it is. So this one just, it like started off kind of promising, like I was quite enjoying it at the beginning, but then it just felt like it turned into like a textbook, like a history textbook. Oh, there's a plane going over, if you can hear that noise. And I just felt like it was, I don't know, it was just really kind of, I didn't get enjoyment out of it. So I think that was the main thing, because it's just, we're following kind of LARUE, and she is like infiltrating the kind of masquerade, which is like the main kind of governing body, I guess. And she's sort of, she kind of becomes a spy, but then you don't quite know who she's spying for and like what side she's on. And then, so she's kind of infiltrating, and she goes to like this other kingdom, and she's kind of trying to, not rule there, but sort of get involved in the ruling of that place. And you don't, yeah, but it just kind of, the politics just, and I like politics in books, but the politics just becomes so heavy that it's almost just too much. And then also another thing is the book has quite a heavy focus on kind of I don't know what the right word is, so like sodomy, and the female version, which is like try something or other, are quite like talked about, and how like it's very looked down on to be kind of gay. But and that's the main part of the book, and like LARUE I think is kind of a lesbian, but it just, the book just felt so homophobic, especially like the way it was kind of written. It just made me feel like really kind of, I just didn't like it. And I guess it's important to kind of explore that in the society, but also sometimes I feel like in fantasy worlds, can we just not have homophobia, please? So yeah, that was just a bit like, I didn't enjoy it because of that. So yeah, so moving on. So next we have Cloaked in Shadow, which is I just feel like this one, I was kind of excited because I thought it was going to be maybe like a bit like Throne of Glass type retelling, but then I just feel like it just wasn't that good. I don't know, I don't have a lot to say about it really, because it was just kind of disappointing. But to be fair, I did get it free, so that was quite good. But it just felt very kind of basic, and like I'm not quite there, I think, was the kind of consensus on that one. It just felt so kind of, I don't know how to describe it, but like because sometimes I like books which are kind of over the top and quite like dramatic, and like not taking themselves too seriously, or just things where like there's so much drama happening. But I feel like this one, it just kind of, it was taking itself seriously, so then it felt a bit kind of off, I don't know. So yeah, so that's that one. Then next we have This Is How You Lose the Time Warp, which this book is like really well praised and really good, and I really wanted to love it so badly, but I just didn't. I don't think I'm like smart enough, like in a literary sense. Like I think my intelligence is much more kind of like science and mathsy, rather than like literary analysis. So most of the reading I do is just for fun. Yeah, so I feel like this one is probably a good one if you're like super literary, and then the prose is almost like poetry, so I feel like I kind of lost the like sense of the story in that. And I think for me, I just didn't really like the characters, and it just kind of felt a bit pretentious, and I couldn't get invested in the relationship because the characters never met, and I think that's something I need in relationships. I've realised in like fictional relationships is for the characters to actually meet, because in this book they're just kind of writing letters to each other, and I feel like I didn't quite get the sort of attraction, I guess. Yeah, so that was just, I think that was disappointing because I wanted to love it so much, but I just didn't. So that was annoying. Yeah, so that was a bit sad, but yeah, I feel like it does have a lot of merit, but yeah, it just disappointed me, so that was sad. And Okay, the next we have Once and Future, which is like a King Arthur retelling, but it's like set in space. And this is another one that I just felt was kind of mediocre. Like, I like the concept, and like it's really good. It's quite like queer inclusive and stuff, but it just, I don't know, the writing wasn't great, and then it just felt a bit like, what's happening? It was very like forgettable. And yeah, so I didn't really like it that much. I feel like I'm quite bad at talking about things I don't like unless I really like have a lot of kind of criticisms of a book like Stormfront, then I don't really know what to talk about, because it was just like, yeah, I didn't really enjoy it. So yeah, like it's not, there's a lot better sci-fi that I would recommend in place of that. So yeah. Then next we have Sailing Ascends by JOSIAH BANCROFT, and this one is another one in a bit similar vein to like, not in, I guess it's not quite as bad in terms of sexism as other books mentioned on this list, but it just kind of felt a bit like, I don't know, I just didn't really enjoy it. Like, nothing much kind of happened. Well, things did happen, but I think it was one that I thought I was really gonna like. It's kind of like almost a bit like weird type, but it was so boring, and it was this character kind of searching for their wife and who'd gone missing, and some things had like happened in the past which I think made me feel a bit uncomfortable. And I always get this book confused with Traitor's Blade, but I think I can distinguish between them. But yeah, and they're kind of ascending up these levels of the tower, and I don't know, I wasn't really like interested in the character, and the levels, they were kind of different, but they also felt quite similar in a way. And I feel like the mystery element was just kind of, I don't know, I just didn't enjoy it that much. So yeah, it's on the list. So the next we have Love, Frankie by Jacqueline Wilson. So this one, it's not bad or anything. I think it just disappointed me, because I used to love Jacqueline Wilson when I was young, but then this one was just like, and maybe I've kind of grown out of it now, which is a bit sad, but also like I was expecting to love it, and then it just was like a 3-star. So yeah, it wasn't like terrible by any means, but I felt like it was just a bit, yeah, kind of immature, and the relationship was very toxic, and it's just kind of like contemporary, and like it was quite like kind of dramatic in a way, but also yeah, I don't know, I just feel like the characters were a bit, I don't know what the right word is, but yeah, I do think it's a good book to like have out there for like little young girls though. That's really good, but it just wasn't my favourite. So yeah. And then also in another vein is like, it's still I think a good book, but it was just disappointing to me, and that is The Invisible Life of ADDIE LARUE. So I actually really like these Schwab. Like, I love the Dark Shade of Magic series, and I love the this Savage song, Duology, got there in the end. But this one, I feel like I almost sort of knew I wasn't gonna like it as much, because just the concept, it didn't really appeal to me quite, but I thought maybe I'll be surprised, and I always like to have an open mind. And also the fact this book is very kind of literary, and I don't always like like literary books. Like, I'm not really a fan of Erin Morgenstern books, so I just feel like it was kind of that kind of vein. So I feel like if you like those type of books, you will really like this one. But also the way it was written, so like the first half kind of felt a bit promising, but then just a lot of things annoyed me. Like, so we're following ADDIE, and she kind of makes a deal with this like devil character that she'll be kind of, well, she doesn't decide to be forgotten, but essentially she ends up like everyone she meets just instantly forgets her. So, and we're kind of following how she deals with that, and then we follow the past timelines, and you get these flashbacks, and I really like the flashbacks at first, but then they just started to become a bit redundant as you went through the book. Like, you just got the same thing over and over, and it was essentially just like this opportunity for ADDIE and Luck to have these kind of scenes of dialogue, and ADDIE and Luck scenes, just the kind of dialogue and stuff just felt so kind of like not out of place, but like the dialogue was written as like this kind of quotable, like seductive dialogue, and then it was just placed in the book. I don't know if that made sense, but I feel like Luck has such promise as a character, and he could have been a fascinating character, but I feel like he was just there to kind of deliver these like lines. I don't know. So yeah, that was kind of annoying. And then yeah, ADDIE was very like manic pixie, like I'm not like other girls type. Oh, she wasn't quite I'm not like other girls in the typical way, but she was kind of like artsy, like that kind of side of things. And then Henry, I did like Henry. He's like a cinnamon roll, so I did like him. But yeah, I just feel like it went on and a lot, you got the same thing kind of over and over, and yeah, so it just kind of became a bit redundant. And then the like bits that could have been interesting weren't really kind of explored, and then the ending was a bit annoying. So I liked Henry's ending, but then ending with Addie and Look, I just feel like this 500 pages or whatever character development just went out the window. So yeah, that was kind of annoying. So yeah, so that's that one. So I only have 9 books on this list, even though it's meant to be top 10, but I couldn't think of a 10th. I don't know. I'm too nice to be disappointed in books. I do have like 1 or 2 that I might have found a bit disappointing, like Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse, but I also didn't really want to put that on the list because I feel like that would be doing it a disservice. But yeah, because I think it is a good book, but I just personally didn't enjoy it. So yeah, that would maybe be my number 10, but I also didn't really want to like roast that book. So yeah, so that is everything. So please comment below letting me know what your most disappointing read of 2020 was, unless you're Nicole, because I don't want to hear it if it's Oathbringer. Yeah, so and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I hope you're all having a great day, and I will see you next time.